Welcome to Manga Head, the very first episode of the weekly podcast where we're going to discuss the manga we're currently reading. But we're not going to do that this episode. Instead, we're going to talk about our five favorite mangas. Um, I'm the host, the first co-host Dawson, and then my other co-host is my little sister Morgan. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi.
Just hi. All
Yeah.
right.
Hi.
We're off to a great start.
Mhm.
It's really hard to do an intro.
That's okay.
Yeah, oh well, I don't really care. Um so we're gonna let's just kind of go into like what the podcast is about. So it's just a weekly thing where we're gonna read a manga. It's kind of like a manga club, which is a book club, but without books. It's manga. So the first manga we're gonna read is gonna be Tokyo Ghoul. And next week we're going to start discussing Tokyo Ghoul, but we wanted to start out the first episode as a test pilot kind of thing and just discuss our five favorite manga so you guys can kind of learn what our tastes are and what we like to read. And yeah, I think we should just jump right into it. So I'll say my number five. We've got these ranked. Mine are kind of interchangeable throughout 1 through 5 or 5 through 1. Number one is like my absolute favorite, but like 5 through 2, I can kind of. It's hard for me to really pick ones, but at number 5, I have Berserk.
Ooh,
So yeah,
number 5.
so I really love the beginning of Berserk, like the Black Swordsman arc to the Conviction arc was all pretty good. Conviction has some pretty bad stuff. Mainly a scene with a horse that I don't want to get into too much. But the villain of Conviction arc was pretty cool. Um,
Wait, is it bad? I don't remember what arc that is.
it's the one after the Golden Age. It's the one that
Is that the
with the
one with
it's with the
Griffith?
priest. No, Griffith is the Golden Age.
Oh, the priest.
Remember the like priest dude that kind of looks like a
Oh,
Roblox character that beats the
yeah.
fuck out of people?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't. We're gonna have to get over it. It's the first episode.
Okay.
Um, so Berserk has a lot of great stuff at first, and then I don't remember. Let me look up the arcs list real quick because I don't quite remember them all.
The
Just
ship arc.
because. What's that?
The ship?
Yeah, boat arc, whatever the hell that one's called. Let me look it up real quick.
I don't know.
Just because I know that's when it gets really bad. It gets like not good before that, but it's not like terrible. Okay,
Well,
it's so there's. Oh wait. Okay, yeah. So there's only like 5 arcs. No, yeah, 5 arcs in Berserk.
there's
There's
really not a lot, but it's just each arc is really long.
Yeah, so there's Black Swordsman, Conviction, Golden Age, Falcon of the Millennium Empire, and Fantasia. And I think which one are we currently in? I think the one that we're currently in is Falcon of the Empire. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but
Um,
I don't know if it's ever going to be finished just because Kentro
yeah, I
uh,
mean,
died.
yeah, it's probably
Right.
not ever gonna get finished, which kind of sucks
Well,
because
they said that like, his son might finish it, but you could also tell that it was gonna be ending soon just by the way things were going.
yeah,
Are we,
definitely. I
can we say
think
spoilers?
oh yeah,
We'll say
huge
spoilers
spoilers for everything that we're going to talk about.
because at the end or the last couple chapters of Berserk, it was like Casca, whatever, you know. It
Yeah, and
was like
she gets her memory back.
yeah, and then like the Guts and her can't really like talk at all because it just brings her terrible memories. So I would think that
Right.
it's gonna be about them like rekindling, and
Yeah, I mean,
probably like
I was
Guts dying from Griffith, big epic fight.
I was pretty excited because it was getting to the point where the manga was actually getting good again, and then getting interesting, and like they weren't just on a fucking boat anymore. But
What's wrong with the boat?
um, everything is wrong with the boat. The boat is boring. I hate all the characters except Guts and Shirk, and even Shirk's pretty fucking annoying. The little
I
kid,
didn't.
what's his?
Oh,
I don't
the
know.
monkey guy.
Isidro, Isidro. I don't know his name. I don't remember it.
The princess. What the heck is her name?
Farnese.
Yeah, Farnese. Oh, I don't like her. When
Yeah,
did
I
Berserk
don't.
just like?
I couldn't tell you a single thing she does besides some of the stuff in the conviction arc. So I don't really know if I like her either.
I mean, she lets the guy who follows her around. He's really important, I would say. Serpico.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if he's important, but he's just I don't know. He's there, you know. Like he's pretty cool.
right. I mean, Berserk has a lot of stuff that I don't like, but it's like the first manga I ever read, and it got me into it, so I like it for that. And also, like the Golden Age is probably like that's a 10 out of 10 piece of fiction. It's fucking awesome. Its art is really great, and the story was actually very interesting and not like it like wasn't like reading manga, if that made sense. It kind of opened my eyes to what manga can be, because there's some manga that you read and it's like it feels like one page there's no words, and then the next page it's just a block of text, and that's kind of how I felt about a lot of comics and manga. But Berserk was like, obviously there's giant spreads that are gorgeous art, but the dialogue is very like it feels very real, and it helps that the translation of Berserk is actually pretty good up until recent chapters, of course, because I mean it hasn't had US releases for the newest chapters, but overall I think that the translation is really good, which really helps. But yeah, that's my number 5. So what's yours?
My number 5 is Tokyo Ghoul,
Okay.
and
Yeah. So I haven't read Tokyo Ghoul. I've
I
only
know.
read the first 30 chapters.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to spoil things then, but
Okay.
like Tokyo Ghoul, the manga. Like if we're comparing manga versus anime, the anime is trash. It completely ruins the manga. So a lot of people watch the anime and think, oh yeah, it's good or it's bad, But it's like, okay, well now you got to read the manga because the manga is completely different,
Right.
and its storytelling is actually like 10 times better. I would say it has some of the best storytelling that I've read, and the art in it is amazing. Like I don't know, it's just like the things that he can portray is just so good, and the way that he uses just like the color black, like
Yeah, because I
he
mean
uses.
that's
Yeah, it's black and white, but like just
the shading kind of.
yes, and it's just like he can portray things so well, and
I
like
gotcha.
you see Kaneki go through so many things, and it's just really cool. And obviously like other characters, but like just Kaneki going through this transformation, the entire storyline is just amazing.
Yeah, I will say like the point that we're at in the story that I'm at, um where he has to actually start fighting now, and like because of what happened to, is it Hanami? Is that her name?
Hinami?
What, Enemy, yeah, her mom. Whatever happened to her mom? How she died, and how there's the pretty much the ghoul police.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how he's already kind of going through that transformation. Because when he first becomes a ghoul, I mean, it was kind of like he was kind of just a puss, and wouldn't, he was just upset that he couldn't eat people food anymore. But
He was like, I'm still human, I'm not a ghoul.
yeah,
What are you talking about?
and once he gets the mask, it seems like he kind of decides that he has to accept that he's not just a normal human anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see why a lot of people like it already. I mean, I used to like make fun of it because I think it's kind of what you said. The anime kind of ruins it, and I hadn't heard anything good about it. So you were the only person I knew that had actually read the manga. But so far, I mean, I'm enjoying it, and I think it can definitely be good. I don't know if it'll ever be top 5 or anything for me, but, I mean, we're just gonna have to see.
Yeah. I
But
mean, one
so
of the biggest
far,
reasons it's top 5 for me is just because of the art. Like, that's how a lot of these I
a lot of them go,
art
yeah.
and manga is just, like, it's so important to me, and a lot of the times I feel like I I'm not influenced as much, like, emotionally towards stories as, like, a lot of other people, so things like that, I don't know, it's just, like, I focus on the art, and obviously I focus on the story and all that, but it's, like, the emotions don't affect me as much. So the art is what really
Right, and
draws
I
me
can
in.
understand that, and for me, I'm kinda 50-50 because like, Berserk's art is really good, and honestly, that's mainly why it's in, like, number 5 for me because, yeah, everything with the Golden Age is very emotionally good and, like, plot-wise, it's really great, but it's the art and Berserk, with the shitty parts of it that really kept me hooked in reading because I
I mean,
mean
it
keep going, you're good.
I think every manga just has that point where it's stale, and you just gotta keep reading. Like Berserk especially, it
Yeah,
has those stale moments, but you just have to keep reading, and it's like I think if as long as we can get through that stale moment, it's gonna have a better upbringing, or hopefully it does, and I think Berserk also does that because it really does get stale at a lot of times. Or like you could be reading just like, you know, pages of just words, but like they're important words, and it's just like I gotta keep reading because I know something big is about to happen. It's just the
right.
anticipation.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, the first time I read Berserk, it was kinda like I mean, the reason I wouldn't read, like, manga like, I've always been, like, a comic book fan, and they're really no different, one of them's just Japanese,
Yeah.
but the thing with Berserk was, like, I feel like with manga, it's really hard for them to communicate their dialogue well in the States because of translations and how shitty, like, translations can be because, companies like I'm not trying to call a specific company out or anything, but they don't pay their translators enough. And they are pretty much like, you guys just need to push it out as fast as you can, so I mean, the Japanese language is just a lot different than the English language, so when you're trying to translate it and make the dialogue invigorating and make it, like a US graphic novel, it's not gonna come off very well.
Yeah.
Especially because so many people in the States don't wanna start manga because, you have to read it backwards, and it's just different and weird for them. So
I mean, that's just a whole different subject, like that right there.
yeah, it is. I just think it's like those are things that, misconceptions in my head when I first wanted to read manga. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, that doesn't even matter because you can make it all left to right on your phone or your iPad. You just have to read the dialogue a little bit differently,
Mhm.
which is normally what I do, but I've stopped doing that because I find it very difficult to read it that way now because I mean, I just read a lot in general. I read a lot of books and, like, obviously that's all right to left or yeah, sorry. No,
Left
left to right. Yeah, and manga's reversed and I mean, that's just a whole different subject. We don't need to get into that, but it's
side note,
definitely very
part of that. Um, I've noticed it's really hard to get back into books because I'm so used to looking at art, like on just like
right.
I read webtoons and just every like manga, and it's just really hard to read a regular book because now I have to like imagine everything.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, going from, like, reading Tokyo Ghoul to reading, like, The Dark Tower, the books that I'm reading now, it's hard, but, like, you gotta find the author that is easy for you to imagine stuff, and for me, that is Stephen King, but that's kinda just a whole different subject. Let's get back to the manga, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit you with my number 4, which you're gonna cringe because I know you don't like this one,
Mm.
and it's gonna be Naruto, believe it or
No.
not.
No.
See,
I've never read Naruto
Naruto
though.
Naruto has a lot of bad shit. Like, I really don't like Naruto's ending at all. But Naruto is a 700-page journey that I went on, and I read it pretty fast. Like I read it in a matter of a few months. And there's a lot of stuff in Naruto that's actually really good. And the whole plot and themes of like I mean Naruto is kind of like a revolving cycle to me. The more I've thought about it because you get Sasuke and Naruto and it honestly reminds me a lot of the very first oh my god, I can't think of the word right now. Madara versus what the what the fuck is the very first what does Naruto become at the end of Naruto? What is that word? I can't think of it right now.
Hokage?
Yeah, the first Hokage. I don't remember the first Hokage's name. I'm having a brain fart right now because Naruto is 700 chapters and it's very hard to remember a lot of it for me.
Is
I
it
have the what's that?
Hashirama
Yes,
Senju?
yes, that guy.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, every Naruto up to the point that you start Naruto, there's been, the 5 Hokage, and they all kind of have that sort of Hashirama versus Madara battle. And when Naruto and Sasuke come in, it's kind of similar, but obviously, they aren't necessarily fighting each other until the very end, which at the end of Naruto sucks. Like I don't like the ending of Naruto pretty much at all. I like the last few chapters where him and Sasuke fight it out. I mean, I don't like the way it gets there though. And I could go off about how much I just despise the ending, but the thing is, like, Naruto's first few arcs, like, I'll just read them off here that I absolutely love. Um, you got Land of the Waves, which is just it introduces you to Naruto pretty perfectly and what the series is going to be. There's a cool villain in it, and it kind of like gets you introduced to this world that has a lot of cool, just fucking. Its power system's really interesting. You get the Chunin exams, which was probably one of my favorite training arcs, besides Hunter x Hunter's training arc. But I mean, the
Is that
Chunin
Naruto
exam.
or
What?
wait, is Chunin exams when Rock Lee just takes off his weights?
Yes,
That moment.
is so fire.
It
It's
is one
so
of the best
fire.
moments I've ever seen in an anime, and it's just like you do not expect it, and the way it. Granted, this is in the anime, but not the manga. It's just like it is a really great moment. Yeah, and the Gara
Yeah,
versus
I mean,
Rock Lee fight, like
yeah, it's like
it's
that.
pretty good.
Naruto is one of those classic shonens that really, it's obvious how many of the new shonens now you get like or not Doctor Stone. Is it Doctor Stone that I'm thinking of? I think it is.
For what?
I'm thinking of like new shonen. There's this one called Doctor Stone. Yeah,
Oh
it is
yeah,
Doctor Stone. I mean, I'm not like trying to call out a specific shonen, and like I haven't seen Doctor Stone or read it, but it's very obvious to me that like these shonen want to be the next Naruto, the next Bleach, the next One Piece, because when Shonen Jump had Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach running at the same time, like let's not lie, that is the greatest big three that you can have.
yeah.
That shit is like fucking the Miami Heat when they had LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. Like that was crazy. That is like a holy trinity of history and manga, and like one of them's still going.
I don't
And
think
it's
anybody will ever be able to top that. To be honest, like that was just like the holy trinity.
yeah, and I don't think they can ever get to that point again.
That is
Especially
one thing.
not
Like Naruto has made anime and manga so iconic, and I think it's
yeah.
what has introduced so many people into like this this world and opened up
Mm-hmm.
their mind. And so yeah, like Naruto is really great for that. I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of it, but then again, haven't
I
seen the whole thing, haven't watched or read the
the
whole thing either.
the anime the thing about the anime to me is it was so obvious to me that like because the manga Naruto is not really for children. It's not really like, aimed like at that. It's obviously for like teenage boys and I mean and girls. It's not like gender fucking specific. It's just obviously a teen series. But when it was in the states, coming on TV, it was on like Cartoon Network and shit like that. So I feel like they tried to make it as like Saturday morning friendly as they could. And One Piece's first early episodes that I've seen feel the exact same way, which I'm not a huge fan of how they do that because the animation and the music and everything, like there's moments that should feel epic in scale and it feels goofy as fuck. A lot of like Naruto's best moments in the manga just fall flat on its face in the anime for me. Like the pain arc in the show is good, but the pain arc in the manga is like really, really good. And everyone always talks about Pain's music and shit in the anime, but I'm just like it just feels so B-rated and not all that great. But I'm not trying to complain about Naruto. It is like my fourth favorite manga I've read. There's a lot of great stuff to like about it. Naruto as a character is just he's very relatable and he overgoes so much growth throughout the series. Characters like Kakashi, Sasuke is a character that you start out really liking and then you don't like him. He's
Well, no, I never liked Sasuke. He's a little brat.
well, that's the thing. Well, like his whole family died. His brother killed his whole ass family, like his whole
Yeah.
clan. So of course he's gonna be like a little brat orphan kid, but when it leads up to like him and Itachi fighting, like that's some of the best shit in the fucking show and the manga. It's just epic in scale.
Yeah.
But once you I mean like Naruto got bad when the Fourth Shinobi War came for me. That's when I stopped really enjoying it. And once you get to the end with Kaguya and fucking Black Zetsu, that's when it's not good anymore. But Naruto has a lot of stuff before that that is just its world building and its characters and its power system. It really just immerses you in that world. And it's something I can't say about a lot of other manga I've read besides I would say Hunter x Hunter, but I haven't read Hunter x Hunter. I've watched it. So overall, Naruto as a manga, I really do enjoy most of it. The ending drags it down for me quite a bit.
What's at the end?
What's that?
What happens at the end?
I mean, to sum it up, basically, you know how Madara comes back as an Edo Tensei and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, all that happens, but it's basically one giant fucking cop out for Zetsu's Edo Tensei to basically he brings back this ancient alien fucking princess
Oh,
named Kaguya, all that how all that
right.
happens.
Yeah.
And that was just such a big cop out and it was so annoying. And I'm not like saying it's Kishimoto's fault. I definitely know that there was like obviously some behind the scenes like Shonen Jump was probably telling him like you need to wrap this up. It's too long. We're losing money at this point or something. I don't know if that's the case, but it definitely feels that way.
Mhm.
Because to me, Naruto probably should have like been ending right now at the point at the year that we're in. It feels like it should have been over 1,000 chapters. I feel like it was supposed to be
Isn't that what Boruto is there for?
now at this point. I think so. I think what really would have been cool to see is if like Naruto and Sasuke go and build up their own villages, and at the end they go and have their big epic final battle. Is what I feel like would have been a really much more engaging ending. But I don't know. I'm not the writer. I don't really know everything about it. It just felt very rushed to me and like it wasn't supposed to end that way, but maybe it was and it just didn't end the way that I was a fan of. But overall Naruto, I felt like I complained about it the entire time we just talked about it, but I have to reiterate this. I really like Naruto. I like a lot of it. Pretty much all of it except for the ending. And there's a few other very boring arcs, but I can deal with boring versus
It's the
absolutely
stale
abysmal
moments
writing.
that we were talking about before.
Yeah, but Naruto has a lot of stale. But like you can deal with stale. You can't deal with absolute atrocities of writing.
True. Okay, let's move on to
Your number 4.
My number 4. And my number 4 is I'm gonna butcher the first word. Oyasumi Poon
Poon
Poon.
Poon.
Yeah, I gotta get Poon Poon in there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my number 4. Just because it is literally the most different manga. I probably would have ranked it higher, but my top 2 are just really important to me. But I don't know, this manga was so different and the art was so amazing.
Yes.
Like
Poon Poon's art is some of the best.
even like the backgrounds are always so well done. And it's just like the fact that Poon Poon is shown off as a bird. It's just
Bird ball.
a bird. I don't know, like the storytelling and everything, and it's just like following this bird character through his entire life just to get that ending, which is crazy.
Yeah. Spoiler alert: Poon Poon's on my list too, so we can talk about it. Poon Poon for me is just when I read it. I mean, I'm not like a depressed person or anything, but I like seeing stories about people that are depressed, if that makes sense, because it's interesting to me. And Poon Poon, it's interesting how his whole family is like a bunch of birds, and everyone else is like an actual person in the story. And the way that Poon Poon develops as a character, you know, he's basically a bird the entire time.
He was a triangle fur.
He was a triangle and he was a bird, and then his body kind of morphs into an actual body, and it's just this weird head devil horn thing. And the way Poon Poon builds up to its climax of the story and every event that happens to him in his life, it's so incredibly messed up to think that that happened to just a fictional character because I mean it's pretty obvious. Like Poon Poon is about a little fucking dude who has a shitty life. And I mean there's a lot of stuff in Poon Poon that flies over my head. Pretty much everything with Pegasus I don't really understand.
There's
I,
so many just
I
underlying things there, and it's just like you have to really like.
it's very every character has so much depth to them. Like his uncle Yuchi, his mom, his dad. Every character has some depth, and I feel like every character could have an entire story written about them,
True.
which is something I can't say about Naruto or Berserk so far. I can't say that I want to see an entire manga about someone like fucking
No,
Casca or something.
you want to know what happened like to them to get to that point, especially what was Aiko?
Yes, yeah, her whole thing with her mom.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Poon
just
Poon
love how,
is
like, Poon Poon the entire time is, like, so in love with her, and it's just, like, just from the young age that we start with to the end, really, like, he's just obsessed with her, and I think that also drives him to, like, madness.
yeah, it's just so it's kind of like childlike love at first, and it turns into this very gross and creepy obsession that he has with her because he has nothing else in life to latch onto, and it becomes very unhealthy for him.
I mean, you could tell from the very start that he already had, like, that unhealthy obsession with her. He's just like, "Well, where's
And
Aiko?" Like, he can't talk to her, but it's like, "I just need to know."
yeah, and it's like because he has no one else that I think he felt like she was the only one that understood his pain in a way when he was a child, and so you get that's what starts his whole unhealthy obsession. And the thing is, like Poon Poon meets other women in his life that
They're
uh
good to him. Well, there's
are
one that's
yeah.
really good to him, but then he what does he even do? He just kinda, like, threw her away for Aiko, right?
If I remember correctly, yeah. I don't remember that part of the manga too well. I mean, it's been a while
It's
since
the
I've read
girl
it.
with the glasses, and it's just like
Yeah,
Aiko
it's
came
his
out of
girlfriend when he's
nowhere.
in college.
Yeah, yeah.
I think her name was Sachi. Yeah, Sachi Nanjo.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think though, like that was always just his second love, and he was always going to throw her away once Aiko was,
Fair.
yeah. Um, she also, if I remember correctly, gets back together with an ex of hers. So yeah, she's that's right. She gets pregnant with her ex-husband, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, and then she's
So
gonna have a
an abortion.
right with yeah, and then Poon Poon missed it for Aiko, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Poon
mean,
Poon
Poon
is
Poon
just
is
so
it's
crazy.
so it's so different and out there, and it's the fact that this little bird character feels like such a real person, and you can get so attached to him, and every character feels like a real living person, and the art in it is just absolutely incredible. I mean, Poon Poon was just it was really different, and it's something that's always stuck with me. So I think that's a really good pick.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy story, and if you haven't read it, I definitely recommend it. And it's not necessarily for a weak mind because
No, I if you are depressed and like contemplate suicidal thoughts, I would not read that. It's not for you. You should definitely, I mean, unless you can handle it, of course. Everyone can handle things differently, but like
you
as
just gotta
someone that
go into
lives
it
in
mentally prepared. Because I don't think you're gonna be prepared for the ending, really.
no, the ending is so batshit insane. I mean, I'm not like a sad person or anything, but when I was reading it, like I get emotionally invested into things and I was like, Jesus, like I need to put this down for a minute and just
Oh yeah.
chill. It's definitely not the easiest read, and, like, if I have to put something down and stop reading for a minute or stop watching, like,
Did you cry
did I
reading
cry
it?
to Poon Poon?
Yeah,
Probably.
because that's
It's
one thing that Poon Poon, like I've read about and like just listened to other people talk about. It's like Poon Poon actually like it gets that emotional attachment and like it
right.
actually messes with you like mentally and things like that and like it causes you to cry, which I think a lot of mangas can't do that. Like sure they're gonna affect how you're feeling, but not to the point where you're actually crying, you know?
I mean, Poon Poon is another one where the dialogue is really, really good and very well translated, so I feel like that's just an issue with some manga, they're very poorly translated in some parts, so Poon Poon was one that was not, and it was definitely one of the best manga I've ever read.
For sure. Okay, what's
My
your number
number
three?
3. So this is gonna be a spicy take because everyone hates the ending of this.
Oh boy.
Uh, Attack on Titan is my number 3.
I wouldn't say everybody hates it. I would say it just
See,
wasn't what we'd expect.
the thing about the ending of AOT for me, there was no way that he could have ended it and please people.
Well, obviously, yeah, because
And
everybody has different opinions. Attack on Titan is one of those massive mangas, and it's like no matter what way
I
you're gonna
mean,
end that, somebody's gonna be so angry.
to be honest with you, Attack on Titan is like one of the things that like kept anime alive in the States for a while, it seems.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I think anime fans I'm interested to see if they keep the same ending when they go to the
Oh, when the
anime.
final season comes out,
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if they do the expanded ending that came out a few months ago.
I would think they would. That just added a couple extra panels that honestly helped the overall ending. Because I would say it like helped clear some
Yeah,
things up. Because
it
the
added.
thing about Attack on Titan's ending is like he left so many cliffhangers, and that was my biggest thing. And it's just like the fact that it was all about Mikasa and Eren, and it was just like just big rotation. It was all I don't know. It was just like
I
not what you would
think
expect for such an amazing storyline and something that has such amazing storytelling. And it's just like it was all planned from the beginning. Like it is
right.
very well done, but it's also just like not something you would expect, which is probably what he was going for. But it's not like a good like I don't know.
I think maybe people just it's a bit of an open ending to an extent. Um, and I think the thing with open endings that just doesn't do it for a lot of people is they have to think about something sometimes. They
Yeah.
have to kind of make up their own. And for me, I love that kind of shit. Like my favorite TV show, Twin Peaks, has a pretty open ending in general. The whole show is very open minded, and you're supposed to kind of make up your own hypothesis and theories and shit like that for the show. And like I like that because it is something that sticks with you and makes you think for a long time. And AOT, like I still think about that ending every day because I didn't expect for it to end that way. And honestly, like AOT, like when it starts, it has a really good first few chapters and then it falls off for a while and then it gets really good once Aaron goes the attack on Wall Maria is when it really started to pick up for me, and then everything after that is just it's so freaking good. The
Yeah.
whole basement reveal is one of the most memorable things ever. I mean, everything with Marley, it was really really engaging.
Well, it was like
That
the first half of the entire manga. It was just kind of like
what
fighting titans. It's all about this one world, and there's only that world where the titans are gonna forever remain. And then it's just finds out that it's actually just a small island, and there's other places, and people have been sent there to capture this one titan shifter. And it's just crazy because it goes from like this small thing that you thought was big, but it moves into something even bigger.
yeah, the world building in Attack on Titan is just fucking crazy. It's so weird to think about it that way.
Yeah.
It's a very it's kind of slow, and I mean it's a seinen, not a shonen technically. So every chapter is like 40 pages. So it's kind of like two chapters in one, but I mean, I was pretty shocked by it. I read the first half of it pretty quickly, and I will say like once I got caught up with it, um I had this issue where I'd read the chapter the day it came out and then never look at it again. So I'd forget what was going on when the new chapter came out, but I would not force myself to read the old one because I didn't want to. Which was really dumb of me because I felt like every week I was like, what the fuck's going on? And I didn't pick up on a lot of stuff. So AOT is one that I do want to reread and see how my opinion of it changes because there's a lot of stuff about it I just don't remember. But overall, I really love AOT. Its art is pretty different compared to everything else on our list so
Th-
far. It's
That's another
very
thing is like it starts off honestly like like the art is trash at the beginning. I'm not gonna lie, but you see Isayama's um entire just art change
progression.
throughout
Yeah.
the entire story, and that's another thing because like by the end his art is amazing.
It gives me weird the way the manga is drawn gives me kind of Walking Dead vibes almost. Like the very first volume of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay, let's move on to my number three, which
Okay.
is No Longer Human by Junji Ito, which I did not realize is actually a book that Junji Ito adapted into a manga. So I guess technically it is a book by somebody else, but
I had no idea about that.
I just looked this up and found that out. So,
Oh wow.
but yeah, I guess I probably would have enjoyed the book as well. But Junji Ito just portrays things in this manga so amazingly. Have you read it?
I have not. That's one I haven't read.
No Longer Human. I love all of Junji Ito's works, and like
I
obviously,
have only read Uzumaki.
well, like Uzumaki. Uh,
But
what's the other
Uzu
one that I read?
Ramina,
I read Ramina.
Tomi.
Oh, Tomi. Tomi's also very good. Anyways, though, I would say out of just like the ones I have read, I would say No Longer Human is the one that has stuck with me the most because I think it shows a lot of like just conflict between like somebody who is mentally insane and his view on like the world, because it's like
Right.
this one guy who is so messed up and views like this human society as like a nightmare. So it's interesting watching him, you know, go through human society, and literally he keeps making the same mistake over and over, and like just ruining his life over and over. But then he gets to stay alive and live through this pain and suffering when he just wants to die. Like
That's
there's this one.
very dark,
It is very dark. There's
but
this
I
one
mean that
point
is
where like
Genji, so
he him and his, I can't remember if it's his girlfriend or his wife, but they were gonna just take pills and die in like the ocean together, and they both took pills, and then she ended up dying, but he didn't die, and so he literally just kicked her into the ocean, and then the body was later found, and he kind of like I don't even remember him getting in trouble is the other thing. It's just like but then like that continues to happen. He continues to mess up all of these girls' life, but then completely be forgiven of it and move on.
yeah, I'm looking at some of the panels right now, and wow, these are fucked up.
I mean, that's another thing Junji Ito just doesn't. He's so good at portraying the fucked up things, like
Yeah,
it's horror. Like he's like when I think of like manga horror, I think of Junji Ito because
I
he
mean
just portrays
he's the
things.
king of it.
Oh yeah, but he just portrays things so amazingly different. Like Tomi Uzumaki, Ramina, all of those things. The art is amazing, and it actually like when I was reading Uzumaki, it just actually like it makes your stomach churn. Like it made mine. I was just
Yeah,
like, oh, I gotta set this down. Like this is gross.
Uzumaki, like that isn't on my list. I wanted to put it on here, but I didn't just because I feel like the story of
Story
Uzumaki
is
is
pretty
not
bad.
the best. It's not bad necessarily. It just wasn't like great.
It was all over the place, I would say.
Every chapter felt more like its own contained storyline, and
Right.
it was more of like a way to show these really weird situations with a snail and with girls' hair and with spirals in general. And I really liked the recurring theme of that spiral. I mean, I'm more excited for the anime because it's black and white, and the dude who did the Hereditary soundtrack is doing the Uzumaki soundtrack. So
Really? I did not know that.
yeah, so I'm pretty excited for it. Um, but Junji Ito is like no longer Humans one. I still have it wrapped up in like the plastic and everything. I just haven't got to it. I really need to because I need to read more of his works, but I really love the way he draws
It
horror
literally just
because
draws.
it's really I don't know. For me, it's hard for me to like get scared of like just images, but
Right.
Uzumaki was one that, they were able to do that, and it was very interesting to see that done
Yeah,
that way.
he's very talented.
Did you know that there's a live action Uzumaki movie?
I did not. That sounds
It,
awful though.
it looks like it's yeah, it was a 2000 movie. It looks very bad,
Oh
but it
god,
almost looks like good in a really weird way. I don't know how to explain it.
oh wait, actually I've seen images from this.
Yeah, looking at these screenshots, it actually looks like they did a decent job kind of adapting some of the cool images in the manga.
But yeah, so No Longer Human is a very dark story, kind of like Poon Poon, but it's
Right.
like, it's just the human mind is being fucked up literally. And I love stories like that, just those dark stories.
Yeah, psychological.
Yeah. So I recommend No Longer Human if you love Junji Ito's other works, and it's very different because I didn't realize this, but it's actually not by Junji Ito. It's a complete story that he just like drew out, and it's like 600 pages, so it's good.
Well,
So
I that's one that I'm definitely gonna have to read. So,
yeah.
uh, I guess I'll move on to my next one. This one kind of is a cheat because it's an entire series and not just one part of it, but it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Do you have a specific part that you like better more, or do you like
Obviously, part 7 and part 6 are like the two best ones in my opinion.
part 6 is the one that's getting the anime soon, right?
Uh, yeah,
With
part
with
6 is the
Joey.
most recent. Yep, that's the most recent anime adaptation that's coming out. I think in December.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about JoJo's except from like I've heard a lot from my friend and you obviously, and I tried to read it, tried to watch the anime. I just it's hard for me to get into it.
So JoJo is very difficult to get into because, there's a lot of people that think part one's the worst part. In my opinion, part one isn't like great, but it's just not god awful.
Mhm.
Part two is when I was like, oh, I see why people like this, because part two is when the characters start to shine a little bit more. And also, were you reading the colored version of JoJo or the black and white? Because if you're
Uh,
reading black and white, you shouldn't do that.
I think I started reading black and white, and then you said read the colored, so I switched.
Yeah, so JoJo is like pretty notorious for being better as a colored manga, which is the only manga I've ever read in color. But it's crazy how much it improves it because the art in JoJo is very weird and like it's hard to differentiate certain things
Yeah, it's a
when
completely
it's
different
all
style.
black and white. Yeah. And um I mean JoJo is just such an interesting series because each part connects a little bit in certain ways, and each character, like main character, is related to one of the other Joestars. And each part is just different in its own special way. Like part three is it introduces stands, and stands are obviously, what all the JoJo fans freak out about and love.
Right?
Uh I for one, my favorite part is probably part seven, just because it's when it turns into a sign-in, so it's 40-page long chapters. But those two characters in part seven, Giorno, or not Giorno, I hate Giorno.
Oh,
Gyro, however the fuck you say his name,
right.
and oh Jesus, what's the other one's fucking name? This is the issue with me reading manga. I don't ever remember characters' names.
Well, JoJo's also just has so many characters.
Yeah, I mean it's really hard for it's especially with stands and stuff.
Yeah.
It is Johnny Joestar. That's right.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Steel Ball Run was just when, because I don't want to spoil it for you. Are you
Uh-huh.
ever gonna like read it?
I already have had many things spoiled, so go ahead.
So the way part six ends, it's like a big reset,
Hmm.
and that was really fucking cool because I've never seen like. It's just obvious to me that Araki kind of is a big fan of like Western, obviously Western music, but also he's a big fan of it seems to be Western culture, and how kind of Marvel and DC will, they'll take all these characters and just reset the universe,
Right.
but they don't do anything cool with it. It's just the story ends and then like, okay, we're just going to redo Batman's origin story for the 800th time.
Right.
Whereas Araki took it and he ended the fucking world, basically. He killed off an entire universe, and then we're transported into the Steel Ball Run universe, which has characters who are very similar to old characters and are related in different ways, but it's in a whole different, world, basically. And I really like stuff about different universes and going from one point of time to the other, and it's very interesting to me. And Steel Ball Run was just definitely had the best two main characters. They had the most chemistry. They were the most interesting. It definitely had the best action, the best drawings. I know a lot of people love the stands in JoJo. For me, I don't really like the stands are cool, but it's not like really what draws me into JoJo. What draws me in is that main gang of characters and like seeing how they interact. Like part five, I don't like because I don't like the main group of characters because they're all very one dimensional and boring, except a few of them. And like you would, what's that?
I said right.
Like you would think that with the, Part Five's main character being the son of Dio, it would be way fucking cooler. But it's just not. It's just kind of it doesn't even really do anything for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Uh,
really need to read JoJo's just because I really do like the art style. And I know it's gonna be good when I actually hit the good points, but it's just I don't know.
it's definitely worth a read. It's very difficult to get into, in my opinion, just because part one isn't very. Excuse me. Part one isn't like amazing, and part two isn't necessarily the best thing ever, but it's pretty good. But part three, it kind of takes another dive down, and I don't like part three. It's
Sure,
just a
Stan's
series.
get introduced, right?
Yeah, part three is when Stans get introduced, but the main group of characters kind of blows. Uh, JoJo's just kind of a series with a lot of ups and downs, but the latest I know I haven't read part 8 yet. I know that it's ending soon or it did just end or something. Um but I really do love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure just because these past two parts have been so different and out there and so much more entertaining than a lot of other stuff I've read. So, it's just kind of a fun manga, it's not super and emotionally deep and devastating to read. It's just kind of fun to relax and just chill and read, and it's what I love about manga because you have these badass moments with a lot of cool characters, and it's all really good art. So, what's your number two?
Yeah, I'll try to get back into JoJo's. And my number 2 is Attack on Titan. We talked about this one already. But for
Yes.
me, Attack on Titan is the first anime I've ever watched and really the first manga I ever read. So it just honestly like it means so much to me just because, it was what introduced me into like my favorite things, literally.
Yeah.
And I think Attack on Titan has some of the best storytelling just because it goes so in depth and it has so many underlying things that you wouldn't even catch on. Like how in
Right.
the early parts of the manga and the anime, like you can see Annie, Bertolt, and Reiner just like in the background of scenes, but nobody would know at that time. Like they're just background characters. But the anime and manga like just plan that from the very beginning where it's like, oh man, these kids, they're just kids, they're not Titan shifters. And that's the other thing is like the characters all I would say they all are different and they all have like their quirks and personalities. And honestly, I think Attack on Titan would have been number 1, but the ending was just such a big letdown for me cuz as someone who was waiting literally like years for such a big amazing Attack on Titan finale, it just was not that. Like big spoilers, sure. Aaron died, and then like Mikasa
Right.
and him finally kissed, which is like what a lot of people wanted, but it's just like that's not what I wanted personally, I guess. It's just like
I
it
didn't
makes
necessarily want that.
no, but it's like a lot of people wanted Eren and Mikasa to get together. But that was one thing I really liked about Attack on Titan was like it never necessarily focused on their relationship romantically. And at the end it was like
Right.
it all revolved around their relationship romantically, which is what I didn't like because that was never really a thing in my mind. And
I
I
will
feel like
say I can understand that because I kind of feel the same way about that a little bit.
well, it's like, yeah, I can get like that being a part of the ending, but not that was what the sole focus was. Like it was just about Eren trying to save the world for Mikasa is what I understood. Granted, he
I
wanted to
don't
save the world, period.
necessarily look at it that way. I definitely see how you can see it. I just choose not to look at it that way because I can see how that would ruin the whole series for you in a way. Maybe not ruin the whole series, but I can see how it would
It's
harm
just
the
a
ending.
letdown.
Right.
It's just like, oh, okay, so that's the ending, and not, I don't know, some big thing. Like, I don't know, like for me, I like it when a manga's like just stupid dark. Like, I just
Hmm.
like, mentally,
Messed up.
yeah, things, which sounds really wrong, but it's just.
I mean,
And
it's definitely more interesting.
just seeing like if Aaron would have just killed everybody, including all his friends, and then watched him go crazy, I feel like that would have been so much cooler to see instead of Mikasa cutting his head off and killing him. Or was it Armin who did? No, it was Mikasa.
It was Mikasa.
Right. Okay.
I will say it definitely feels like the ending was
It
kind
was
of
rushed.
rushed, and that's kind of how I felt the entire time I was reading it because you know I remember when we were getting close to the end, I was like, I don't know how he's gonna wrap all these loose ends up in
Like 4
one.
chapters.
Yeah, I mean, we were one chapter away, and I remember telling you like, there's no way he can like wrap all this up in a satisfying conclusion in one more chapter. Like, people are gonna hate the ending, and it's not gonna be very good. And you were like, no, it's gonna be fine. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it won't really be all that
I
great.
thought
And
he was just gonna keep the manga going, but he that's another thing that was like the anime. I think there was a lot of things with the anime where it's like, okay, it's time for a conclusion, really, because I don't know. They did switch studios as well, which I don't know if that causes an issue with the anime, but I felt like the anime had a big portion because the anime was caught up with the manga, and that could rush a manga artist. Because like you've seen that happen
definitely, yeah,
with what Full Metal Alchemist, the original series,
yeah,
not
that's true.
Brotherhood. I know Soul Eater, that happened to Soul Eater, and didn't it happen to Bleach? It's just
Um,
when
I'm
like
not
the anime
sure.
catches up with the manga, but it's like I would much rather wait for the manga and anime to be finished correctly instead of rushed. Because one thing in Attack on Titan is like for like I swear it was just like forever. Once again, big spoilers. It's just like Eren and this gigantic Titan, like dinosaur, and
Right.
like it was just all of them like coming back together, like Annie, Reiner, and the OG crew, like Sasha. No, Sasha's dead. I meant Connie and John. Like those ones all like coming back and forgiving each other, which was nice to see. And another thing is like Armin and Annie got together, and then like that was such a pointless little part to me because it's like, sure they had
Yeah,
their
that
moments in
that
the
didn't
very
make a whole lot
beginning,
of sense.
like, and well, it seemed like to me he was trying to satisfy the people who like just shipped a lot of people. Literally, that was it,
Right.
and so that made me annoyed. And then like I feel like Historia's baby was never really solved because it could have been Aaron's baby, but I don't know if it was ever confirmed to be Aaron's baby or the farmer's baby or what was going on with that. There was just a lot of loose ends, and like it was just like Aaron is in his dinosaur form for
Right.
chapters on end, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh, Mikasa cut off his head with a whole lot of other underlying issues, and nothing really was solved except for like obviously the big issue, which was trying to stop the Titans.
I will definitely say that I think maybe one or two more chapters to really wrap things up would have
Would have helped.
been very beneficial to the series. Um, I like the ending for the most part. I don't. The thing is, like, it's like I said earlier. When I got caught up, it only came out monthly, and when I first got caught up, he was on like a 3 month hiatus at the time.
Yeah.
So I waited 3 months for a chapter, got the new one, and I mean, I read a lot of different stuff. I watch a lot of different stuff, so I'm constantly consuming some type of media, and the ones that stick with me, like AOT, has always stuck with me. But it was definitely hard for me to. It got to a point where there was so many characters and so much going on that it was very hard for me to really keep track. So it's one that I do need to really reread. Uh, I've just only ever really actually like read like 5 manga, and that's one that I really liked. So that's why I put it at number 3. But
I mean, number 2 is just Attack on Titan because it means so much to me.
right, and I understand that.
But we already talked enough about that. So what's your number 1?
Well, my number one's one that we already talked about. It is Poon Poon.
Oh yeah.
I don't feel the need to reiterate everything, but just to kind of sum it up, Poon Poon is just really. It's very emotional. The characters are some of the most interesting out of any piece of media or fiction that I've ever read. Its art is incredible. It's just it's one that you really have to read to really understand, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. And I recommend it to anybody who wants a dark story that's gonna make you it's gonna make you feel things. Like Like
I
it's
mean,
not just gonna make you sit there and read. It's gonna be like, whoa, what the hell just happened? You know, like things like that. And
right.
if you want that, then I would definitely read Poon Poon. I mean, I think everybody should read Poon Poon, but you just have to be in the right headspace. I would say you can't go into it if you're like, you know,
I would honestly say, like, what am I trying to say? It's hard for me to like recommend Poon Poon as like a first manga.
oh no, no, no.
The thing is, like, I mean, I recommended it to a friend of mine, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't think wants to be ousted in public. But that was his first manga, and he really liked it, and it's the only manga he's ever read. And he literally came to me like, I want something that's just going to make me like disassociate. I'm like, okay, well, read this, and
Yeah,
he really liked it, and he got what he wanted out of it. So if you're looking for something like that, like, yeah, sure,
it will
maybe
completely
read it.
distract you of the outside world.
Yeah.
You become absorbed into it. But it's just one of those mangas where it's not like, I wouldn't say it's a good thing to be absorbed into, but you can't stop,
Right.
which is what makes it so good.
Right. Yep. But
That's your number one?
that's my number one. So what's your number one?
Oh, we already talked about it, but it is Berserk.
I was wondering if you put it on there. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, of course. Again, I gotta put Berserk at number one just because it's just so legendary, you know? Like, I
Okay,
think
but the
Berserk,
ship.
no, the ship,
No.
listen, the ship was trash. I will say, like, that was trash. But Berserk just does everything so differently, and it just doesn't, I don't know, like, it's just so good but bad, and it's just makes you feel everything, and the art is very good. And I think it's one of the only mangas that actually, like, it made me so mad, I just had to, like, I had to put it away. Like, I was getting so angry. And it's not because it was bad, it was just because of what was happening inside of it.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever had one like just piss me off like that. What was pissing you off though?
Well, the Griffith part.
Oh, the eclipse.
Yeah, there we go. That's what it's called. The eclipse. That part was what really.
Yeah, that was very hard for me personally to put down, just because it was so brutal and so. It was
Yeah.
very, it sucks you in, and it makes you not wanna stop reading.
Well, it's like you want to stop, but you can't. You know,
Right.
it's one of those. But we already talked about Berserk already. So going through my list, number 5, Tokyo Ghoul. Number 4, Poon Poon. Number 3, No Longer Human. Number 2, Attack on Titan. Number 1, Berserk. And if you haven't read any of these, I would totally recommend them. Attack on Titan, Tokyo Ghoul, probably if you're new to manga, because those are really easy to get into and they're pretty
They're
easy.
not super long is
Yeah,
a big part of it.
Berserk is also pretty easy to get into. It's just very long, and then obviously No Longer Human and Poon Poon, they require a different mindset, and it's just like be careful going into them. You know.
I would agree with that. My 5 through 1, just to reiterate, is Berserk, Naruto, Attack on Titan, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Poon Poon. Um, my shortest pick here is Poon Poon, but that's not one I would start out with. If you want something short, sweet, and to the point to really introduce you to manga, I actually recommend Uzumaki, which I didn't put on my list, but it's one that I know right now it's definitely still popular and relevant just because of how legendary it is, but it's only going to be more popular in the coming months because of the anime that's going to come out. That's a 4-part miniseries. So I would recommend that if you're going to start out reading anything. Um, I'm no expert on manga, but that's what I started out with. Well, actually, I started out with Berserk, but I got sick of Berserk once I got to the ship. So then I stopped reading Berserk, read Uzumaki, and wanted to finish Berserk, so I read that. Um, but like, let's maybe, hey, like, I'll go on my anime list right now and look at some of the top rated manga, and maybe we can talk about just a few more just to wrap up the episode.
I think one of them is going to be Full Metal Alchemist.
That
I've never
is number 6.
Yeah, number 1, of course, is Berserk. Number 2, JoJo. 3, One Piece. Never read it. Oh, 4.
Vagabond.
Yeah. I've heard a
So
lot of good things about Vagabond.
Vagabond's art is actually batshit insane. I have not read it, but I have seen the art and it's awesome.
And then
One Piece is one that's really, really. I'm about half. No, I'm not even halfway through. I haven't finished One Piece, but it's really, really awesome. So I would recommend that one. Maybe not start out just because of how long it is.
One Piece is just the legendary super long.
It's definitely. It's not even the longest. Hajime Ippo is is even longer somehow.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of good manga out there. It's just kind of up to you on what your taste is. For me, I know what my taste is. I'm not into romance or weird other shit. I don't, maybe not weird, that's a bad way to put it. I like action, I like good stories, I like characters that I fall in love with. Um,
I feel like characters that actually have a depth to them and, you know,
right.
things like that. Which I feel like
I
most people do. They want a
right.
character they can, like, either
Which
relate to or just, like,
I'm not trying to call out people that read romance manga. That's just not something that I feel like personally I will enjoy. So that's why I don't really do it.
I mean, I've read quite a few. They're all right. They're not gonna get you, like, hyped or anything, though, you know?
It's kind of how I feel about like romance novels. Like I don't read those because it's just not something that interests me.
They're just I would think they're more of, like, a relaxing thing, to be honest. They're just kinda like, "Oh, I just want
Right.
to do something I just wanna read something that's chill." So, that's understandable.
One manga I would recommend that I didn't mention is Akira, which is the movie is extremely popular, but the manga is a lot better because it actually fleshes out the plot and it tells the story better than the movie ever could, in my opinion.
Right.
Hunter x Hunter, I have not read that. I have watched it, and the TV show is pretty faithful. I recommend that. I mean, just really, it's just kind of like pick one and see if you like it. I know a lot of people really like Vinland Saga. Not as of late. Apparently, it's very shitty now. Jujutsu Kaisen is a big one. Chainsaw Man is one that I plan on reading when I can.
Yeah, I also plan on trying to read that.
I kind of want to read it on this. I feel like that'd be fun,
After Tokyo
especially
Ghoul?
maybe. I don't. We'll have to keep that a secret.
Oh.
Just kidding. Um, honestly, like one that I would. It's long as hell. Is JoJo? I would pick JoJo to start out with, just because JoJo was one that it's just a nice, easy read, and it doesn't take a whole lot of brain power for a lot of it, and it's a fun read. So
Yeah, I would recommend Attack on Titan if you're just starting out, but I'd imagine if you're listening to this, you're not looking for a manga to read, like, your first ever
probably not. Probably not. So I think we're gonna call that the end of the first episode. Um, I mean, thanks for listening. If anyone listened,
I mean, also, if you are listening and you have suggestions or tips or anything that could help us, we would appreciate that.
yeah, any sort of feedback. Maybe don't be an asshole and tell us that we suck at talking. Maybe just tell us what we could do better in a nice way, please. Would be cool.
Yeah.
Um, overall, though, yeah, those are our top 5 mangas. Maybe Tokyo Ghoul will make its way into mine. Next week, we're gonna discuss the first 3 arcs of Tokyo Ghoul that we've read so far.